Okay, so if you're watching on Twitch, I hope you've been enjoying. Because I'm going to have to edit this for YouTube, I'm going to basically record it straight and then cut it up into bits. So once again, we're playing Field of Glory Empires. This time, instead of the base Grand Campaign, or the Pyrrhus scenario, I'm going to be playing the DLC campaign. This is from the Rise of Persia. I could probably turn the difficulty up. The difficulty really isn't going to affect what we're doing right at the beginning. But it may affect it in the long run. Because I'm going to have to do a little bit of... I suspect I may end up having to do a little bit of stairs coming. We're going to run unbalanced. Because it's what's considered balanced. So if this is your first time watching the channel, I stream my content live to the username Wilcol, and I record it locally and upload it to YouTube under the username Wilcol100. So today we're going to be playing Field of Glory Empires in the Persia DLC, and the plan is to play is to play Sparta. Plan B, if Sparta doesn't work, is to do Persia in the next stream. Unless we get Sparta running, and then we'll try to finish out the game with Sparta. So this is obviously the grand campaign for the Persia DLC. So obviously the first place it recommends is Persia. Persia's got some interesting modifiers. It's I forget the name of the Alexandrian successor kingdom that owns the area, but basically they have the same effects as that group would have. So they have the Strapi mechanic, they have Archimedes, imperialism, they have Hellenic friction, that sort of stuff. Well, Hellenic friction is a special thing for this scenario. We'll get into how that works when we're actually in the scenario, once we're actually going. So it recommends playing Persia. That's one of the recommended ones, or at least one of the major ones that it kind of implies that you might be able to play in the Persia one. There's a couple others it does. There's Athens, there's Lydia, there's Rome. It recommends Rome because this is like a weird situation where this is before Rome actually gets its like historical independence. There's Carthage down there. This is before Alexander of Macedonia does his conquest, so Macedonia is an interesting choice. Syracuse is still a thing. This is Egypt under the actual Egyptian dynasty. So this is Egypt with Egyptian culture, which has actually somewhat interesting to play. They get the same sort of perks the Deseret does, but they're Egyptian. The plan is to play Sparta. So today we're going to play Sparta. There's a bio on the history of Sparta. I think even though the game treats Sparta as Hellenic, that's more of a modern anachronism to deal with Sparta and Greece. My historical understanding of Sparta is that the Spartans are actually invaders. They're not actually native Greek. Though, much like the people of Ur and Uruk over here in Mesopotamia aren't native Mesopotamians, that's a notable, or Ur and Uruk is a notable sort of Mesopotamian civilization, such as Sparta is a notable Greek civilization. Both are technically invading cultures that become so intertwined with the region that they're associated with that people tend to associate them as the region. We're going to be playing Sparta. Sparta, as a side effect of being the area, is generally considered Hellenic, and it becomes more Hellenic as it exists. Sort of historically, at game start, they're an interesting country where I think they have a dual monarchy, where there's two monarch lines that are basically rule the country. It has basically what is a parliament, something it's interesting in the time period where you've got two monarchs and a parliament. And historically, it's basically the city-state of Sparta ruling over the Spartan Empire, which is everyone else that the Spartans rule over, such as the Messians. In this start, we start off with 2 territories. We start off with the one that contains Sparta, and we start off with one of the subject ones. We also start off war with our neighbor Argos. Well, like a lot of the Hellenic ones, we're Hellenic, so it says we get 9 extra buildings representing the Hellenic ethnicity. Technically, as Sparta, we get 8. One of those buildings we do not get. We do not get the ship house. Well, at some point we may see one, because one of the other Hellenics might make one. But instead of that building, we get the Strapadon. Probably pronouncing that wrong. So yeah, we get 8 buildings. Basically, we're mostly Hellenic, so we get most of the Hellenic effects. Notably there, you're going to see we're minus 25% manpower. We get a culture bonus, we get a commerce bonus, we get a manpower bonus. We have our Goget, which is, this is a Spartan special, extreme physical training associated with the Spartans. So we get 10% extra XP, we get 10 extra XP. And our population, in addition to just normally growing, it can also grow as a slave, which is good and bad, and it's complicated. But that also reflects another manpower penalty. So we got a manpower penalty there. We got a manpower penalty there. Slaves don't contribute manpower, so that's basically a manpower penalty. So we're triple manpower penalty short. So we have pretty severe manpower issues. One thing it doesn't tell you here as well is, and it's an Agoge situation. We don't get mercenaries, is my understanding. So we're going to be really short of manpower, and your usual workaround to not having manpower is to hire mercenaries, which we can't do. So this is going to be a very interesting start. We're going to have basically an army of very elite troops, but in practice we will have much more likely to have manpower problems than other people, as these do add, is my understanding. So that's 75% manpower reduction. Back when we were looking at Persia, there was the Hellenic interloper. That plays into the rivalry. So Athens and Sparta has a rivalry. If I get the run going, what will likely end up happening is we'll accidentally kill off Athens. In which case we won't have a rivalry because they'll be dead. Just they're going to accept that. Strategy admin. Early on, we start off with an extra leader pool and extra leader quality. Early on, we start off with very high military expertise because we have a very high ratio of troop quality or military buildings to territories, and we start off as a monarchy. So that's sorry, family interrupting. So you can see we got plus 10 XP there. We got plus 10 XP there. This is providing another 25 XP. So initially we're getting really high quality troops. This one may go away if we don't keep the military ratio up, but we're starting off with some very good troops. We're starting off with very little manpower. And we start in a war, and I'll get into some more of the problems we're going to have as soon as I get into the game. So now that we're in the game, Sparta has these nice, very effective Spartan hoplites. They do have some weaknesses, right? They're not good in forests, they're not good in swamps, they're not good in mountains. At least they're okay in hills. And I say at least they're okay in hills because we're in Greece. Where's the terrain map mode? That's the terrain map mode. That's the problem. Moon overlays can tell me that? Maybe. Yeah. That works. You can see most of Greece is hills. So at least for heavy infantry often penalized for being in hills. Our heavy infantry at least do not have a penalty for being hills. The Spartan hoplites being heavy infantry. So they don't like forests, they don't like swamps, they don't like mountains. There's a couple there is a forest here. There is a mountain here. We do have a couple plains, which is really good. So these are the Spartan hoplites. They're really good. They cost 3 manpower, so that's a bit of an issue when you can see we've only got plus 7 coming in a turn after our current troop deployment. They have a pretty high upkeep at 20, and they cost 5 metal. They have an upkeep of 5 metal. You can also see they have siege value and siege resist. They're one of the units that we can use to siege. One of the other units we can get is we can get allied Paradoki. You'll see these guys have siege value. They don't actually have any siege resist, so we don't want these guys to hold forts, but they can siege forts. These are effectively our medium infantry. We get Helots shield bearers, which are terrible. They do have enough siege, do have enough range attack. They do provide one support, so we are going to want one of these guys behind everyone we have until we can get an alternative. They are nice enough to give us one cav. And then from a Q standpoint, yeah, no, actually, maybe I don't have access to that. I was assuming we had access to seasonal plates. So the Greeks are interesting in normally they don't get most civilizations have a medium infantry that does their sieging. So, for example, in our case, the Perdoki here. Not that we're going to train these in Sparta. Have one siege value. Normally, the Greeks are unusual in that they have a citizen hoplite who has one siege resist and no siege value. So they have to use the heavy infantry to siege. At Sparta, our heavy infantry is really expensive. Right, so we're going to have to be careful. Its default cost is... Well, we've got a couple, so it's not 180. It's a little cheaper than 180. But each one adds a cost of 20% to it. And with just 4 of them, it's bringing us up to 180. Cost 20 manpower. That's more than a third of our current manpower pool. Cost 5 metal. Has 5 metal upkeep, so we've trained one more and we're out of metal. Right, we don't have any surplus metal. And they take a really long time to build, with 120 equipment build. Our medium infantry is going to be allied Paradoki. These guys are not mercenaries. They do have slightly lower manpower upkeep, I think, than the equivalent medium infantry. But again, we're not going to be able to hire very many of these without coming into issues. And then the Helot shield bearers are, in our case, somewhat nice in the fact that they don't have a metal upkeep. They don't have a manpower upkeep. They do have a little bit of money upkeep, but they're also just really bad skirmishers. Normally, you can kind of run with it if you need to with skirmishers. Initially, we're going to need some boats. We're going to have to go siege down Argos and Argolade. The province of Argolade, which contains Argos. Now, we're in a pretty nice region. We're in Greece. We do have a nice iron deposit down here. We got coal, we got iron, we got some figs, we got some hemp. And then our other territory has hemp and fish. So if anything, we don't really need more hemp. We don't need fish. We want ways to move those around. The Egyptian Delta, which is down here, does have access to papyrus. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So I think we're almost in range of being able to import papyrus from Egypt. Yeah, so I think if we have like a +1 range from a road or a port, we should be able to get papyrus from Egypt. So if we don't grow our own papyrus, that's an alternative. Though we're probably very incentivized to get some of our own papyrus, so we don't have to import it from Egypt. And then there are other nice resources in the area. Macedonia. Up in the Macedonia area, we've got some gold. Athens actually has some silver. There's some copper up here. So there's definitely some resources that we can move around and get some very interesting and useful buildings in the area. There's some purple in the area, that sort of stuff. So if we get a good start going, that's going to be the plan to try to do this turn, or this stream. This is a very interesting start position. We'll also get into a lot of... the Greek buildings are very interesting. Now, instead of the boathouse, the Spartans get this building. This building is very interesting and in some ways very powerful. So up to 20 allied units will get 5 XP per turn, up to a maximum of 50 XP. This is useful for situations where you want to bring in a unit that, for whatever reason, doesn't spawn in with a lot of XP. Right now, I think we're getting like 35 XP on spawn. Trying to think about where the modifiers would be easy to check. So that's 10. Monarchy's 10. That's reducing the XP needed to level up, but that's not technically an XP bonus. Very high military XP. So 45. We got 45 base XP. We got a currently good ruler. We got a good administrative, good military ruler, so that's actually pretty good for a start. But yeah, so as you can see, we've already started with an objective on the person we're at war with. We are going to have to fight these guys really early on. We in fact start with war with them, right? So we're already fighting them. Legacy-wise, one thing you will see immediately is that in this scenario, unlike the non-DLC scenario, people start with legacy. Egypt starts with 7,500 legacy. The two Egyptians, so the two Greeks and the one Mesopotamian civilization start with 2,500. Lydia, which is the Asia Minor Greek, starts with 1,000. Etrusci starts with 500, and Medina starts with 100. Now, some of these civilizations are probably not going to live for very long. So, Medina, for example, this is the Rise of Persia civilization save. Persia's going to rise, and they start off with the War of Medina. So Medina's going real quick. Babylon's probably not going to have a particularly great day. The Etrusci are the people who are going to probably get jumped by Rome if Rome gets out of hand. So a lot of those are not necessarily going to be too much of an issue. One thing we do want to know is, or want to maintain, is we want to stay at least within a third of Egypt legacy point wins. Keep Egypt from winning. Though that's obviously going to be heavily dependent upon us actually surviving the first couple turns. In practice, I think this is going to be a viable start if we can go ahead and take over Aeroglade without losing our starting army. Because our starting army is so expensive, we're not going to reasonably able to replace it. If something happens, it's gone. It's gone. It's basically where we are. So, Archaea here, we're going to probably leave that as is. I could probably do that for culture reasons. We're not necessarily needing to grow the area right now. And then we'll do that again for culture. I think the 2 people on culture will be enough on culture. I may down prioritize food a little bit, because we're going to probably be having slaves come in pretty quickly. So we're probably going to grow early on via slaves. Building-wise, first rule here, we did get public works. I'll take public works. We are not Rome, so I do need to build my roads the hard way, instead of sending the legionnaires around to build it. So situations where I get public works will be prioritized. In Archaea here, or one expand that we need to hold, well, we want to hold on to. This is where we can build boats to start off, so I've queued up 2 light warships to blockade the Aeroglade port. Basically, I'll have to send a ship out and basically rotate back and forth, because we're unlikely to necessarily have enough food nearby to support the ship out of port. But yeah, we want to try blockading it, see how that goes. But they don't start with a fleet, so I think we just have to jump them quick. Pampered for us is probably fine for the moment. The rough isn't good, actually. Can I get a different leader? No, we're just going to have to roll with the Pampered. There's maybe an argument that I could swap over to the 0-2 here. Seeing as we're actually likely to be on the defense rather than the attack in any upcoming battles. We'll probably take an XP penalty if I do that, but sure. Yeah. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to order a move there. That may work, that may not work. We'll find out together very quickly. My goal is, if they haven't given any orders for this guy to move around, they'll end up retreating back into the fort. And that's how we're just going to have to roll. We're going to have to hope that they're just scared enough they don't come out to face us. We start off with 6 line, 3 skirmishers, and a cav. The hill frontage is 6 and 2 cav spots, so we probably want another cav. We can't recruit them right now. And we probably want to get up to 8 skirmishers. So here, we're going to just go ahead and recruit skirmishers, as long as we've got enough to afford those 2 boats. So the boats are going to cost 20 manpower each. So that means I've got 30 manpower to spend on other stuff. You cost 3, or you cost 5 each. We want like 5 of them. Okay, we can afford 5. So let's queue 5 up. And we'll just trickle those in to as they come up. Okay, so that's basically going to be my first turn in the plan. Hopefully these guys don't fight us in the field, because we've put a bad attacker in charge. And they do fight us in the field. Okay. And they've got a good attack. Or well, to be fair, they're on the defense. They've got a good defender. So we're probably going to have a very bad day here. Skirmish or skirmish. You can get a bigly good skirmish. Very much dice rolls. Stalemate is fine. That's not a stalemate. And 7 versus 3. Yeah. So this is probably going to be one of those scenarios I was hoping they'd actually fall back into the fort, and they didn't. Or we're probably just going to scrum the save and start over. And up until now, well, actually that was the first defeat. Up until now, it doesn't look like it's been very bad, but then the Cav's going to come in here and kill some of our guys in the rear, which causes us to be a retreat. And they kill more in... Actually, no, we got away with the retreat. We just lost the Berdoki, which... if this wasn't any battle besides the first one, would be fine. I'm going to do a little bit of scale skimming here. We're going to go ahead and reset. Yeah, and you get a quest right at the beginning to go take over this place. And of course, I've gone and forked the save, so let's quickly restart. Probably would have had a little bit better of a roll had I left the attacker in charge, which may be what I do. Well, we'll see what we roll into this time. Oh, and of course I've got OBS on the bottom this time. Let's get OBS back on top. Okay. There we go. Once again, we're going to try Sparta, so we're going to click Sparta. There's a little bit of RNG in the start. One of the bits of RNG is obviously what building we rolled and what leader we start with. So this time we got a 1-2. This is definitely a leader where I can just do. I'm going to do that. Just going to simply assign a move order. Bring against again. For the 5 Paradoki. Route the 2 boats. Even though the boats are going to take a couple turns to build. We're going to move 1 guy on to culture here, 2 guys on to money, food on to... and you can see, there's also a little bit of randomness in the buildings at the start. We don't have positive food here if I move the guy off of food, so we're not doing that. We're just going to leave him on food. It'll be fine. A little bit different buildings here. There's some that are hard-coded, like you always start with the King's Palace, you always start with the Military Academy, I think you always start with the barracks and the Strapodon here. And you probably start with the market, because the market was here. I think these 2... No, I think we had the charcoal power. Maybe the salt mine's different. I'm not sure how much of the starts are actually hard-coded. We don't have a road this time as an option, so it's a choice between Monument and Clearwater. I'm going to go Clearwater. This time we did pull an implant trade settlements. If you were going to go for a slower start, the implant trade settlements might be the way to go. As you can basically use it to claim a unfortified location within a certain distance of you. We're not going to play it right away because, honestly, I run the risk of it not being defendable right at the beginning. Nothing to build there. You're building that. Apparently we got the same thing with good administrator, good military. Might be the same guy every time for the governor, or for the monarch. The YRL, I think Spartans technically had dual monarchs, but the game only gives them one. And our objective is still the same. We still start with the same national traits, because the only thing that changes, or could change normally, would be the leader. So we're going to go ahead and just hit the end term here. Again, okay, so they left their capital. That kind of works for me. Okay, so they went, instead of holding their capital, they actually went back to Arcandia here. Whenever Arcandia. The alternative for us going to Aeroglade probably would be to try taking over Arcandia. But I'm passing up on it because they're kind of on a speed run to trying to take Aeroglade over. You start off with the treaty with Athens, and the Athenian navy will just give you a really bad day if you let it. Oh, actually no, they came and sieged our port. Okay. I think I can work with it. It's got an uncertain duration, but well, our siege will be a long time as well. They do have a good defender, so if we attack them, they're going to be having good defense. I think we're actually just better off trying to defend their location. Worst case scenario, we can always try to take that place back. 1-0, 1-1, 1-1. Okay. Okay, we do have a 2-1 we could assign command to, but we're not going to rush to do that. We're going to get the rest of the Paradoki. Clearwater came in and we got a reroll. In the long run, there's some things I want in health 3. There's some stuff I want in money 2. There's some culture buildings I want. Arguably, with what we're being offered here, specifically, I think I'm going to pass. And not take any of these. I think we'll do a reroll. Various reasons. That may not be particularly obvious right now. So sorry if you don't understand. Okay, and we do have a slightly different respawn in the previous one because the resources are a little bit randomized. We had fish over in Archaea. This time there's fish in Aeroglade and Arcadia instead. Some of these are hard-coded, like there's always gold there. And I think like we having iron is hard-coded. Okay, so I think the salt mine, the food building, I think it's hard-coded that you have a food building. I don't think it's hard-coded that you have a salt mine. I think we had hemp last time. It's either hemp or flax last time. That we don't have this time. Okay, so let's go ahead and... We did get a build harbor. I'm tempted to go with the build harbor. Quickly crash a build harbor out on capital. We're also bleeding a little bit of money, so we'll move a guy off of infrastructure to money, and then we'll end the turn. Okay, and they went for a storm. So, in all likelihood, the fort's about to fall. Our guys are exhausted, yeah. We do have a better defender. It is the hills, so if anything, we kind of want them to attack us, just we don't want them to sally. Because we don't really want to face the Palatial card. And as you can kind of get in here, the Aegean King favors land assault, the Euclid King prefers landing in Argos. So if you're wondering why there's 2 kings, it's because Sparta has 2 kings. So some of the story events will sort of vaguely reference the fact that Sparta has a dual monarchy. But the quest here is occupy that place within 30 turns. Technically speaking, we only have to occupy that place. We could technically, at the end of that 30, once we get it over, because it'll give us, I think, a legacy reward. We could technically let the country go to do it again. I don't think there's a hard limit on how many times you can occupy the place. Just, you need to occupy it to get the reward. And to get it to pop up again, you technically need the place undefended. Okay, so we did breach one of the walls. We're going to reinforce our unit again. We're not going to play with any of these cards right now. I think it's Federate. Federate Barbarians actually work. No, it needs to be a tribe level civilization, not neutral. Got a pretty similar pull to the last time. We do have Salt. Salt House is tempting. Let's go ahead and grab Salt House. Another one is, because we did lose that territory, I'm going to move the guy off of culture onto money, because we need less culture at this point due to losing a territory. And then, yeah, if we get lucky and we get another wall breach, we'll probably order an assault. Okay, they sallied. Skirmish. Because of the skirmishers that arrived, we were in a little bit better state. Oh, and they did manage to pull a 2-2 leader out of their butt to lead the Glacial Guard. This may be a battle we don't win. Though arguably, stalemate is good for us. Okay, we got a victory there. If we get 2 victories, we may be in a winning state. Okay, so that counted as a win. The Glacial Guard is mostly destroyed with that move. And because that was the sally of the Glacial Guard, the garrison surrenders. It did not go without losses, of course. We definitely... Well, our troops took damage in a way where we did lose some proverbial men, but we lost no units. All the units survived. Mostly... To be fair, I don't think it was mostly Praedoki, but mostly Praedoki, sure. The result's all the same. Airglade power is broken, even if a few ships and soldiers are still not surrendering. For this success, the king is granting us extra legacy points, and will immediately order a levy of Praedoki in Airglade. Hostages will, of course, prove handily here. So that was useful. So that is an example of what I consider a successful start. So we order a unit forward. We're going to go retake our territory. If we do retake the territory, they won't have anything to own, and that will end the war. For various reasons, we don't want the place to starve, or we don't want the place to have its infrastructure wear out. I'm not going to worry about making culture there. I will put one guy back on culture here, just to keep us in the progressing tier, I believe. Actually, given the circumstance, that's probably about right. Move a guy off of food onto infrastructure, another guy onto money. Again, this is occupied, so it's not going to be super great at making money. But staunching the burn that is our troops being mobilized is a good plan. Okay, so now that we've got the Airglade, I'm a little bit less paranoid about spending money on other things. Contemplating importing. So there are ones down here. Yeah, tempting to do down there. There's a one, but there's actually pretty close to Greece. We'll probably want that province anyway. So yeah, let's drop that. So we probably could play this on Arcade once we retake Archaea. So that's what we plan on doing. We get 10 out of 10 here, so we can't build anything yet. If we get one more person there, we can build something. We're going to try building the Salt House. It's going to help us make more food. And for various reasons, I want to get up to health 3, tier 3 health buildings real quick. There's a particular tier 3 health building I am very interested in acquiring. I'll bring it up when I do acquire it. And to be fair, I'll bring up the process to getting there. Right now the process is get up to tier 3. But once we are in tier 3, I'll suggest which building you would want to be building to get to it. It's not some super secret hidden building, to be fair. Okay, so once again, this is a battle that might not go our way. A little bit more likely to go our way. 7-7. Skirmisher playing out there, that's fine. I think the dice rolls have not delivered us victory here. Yeah. Oof. Lost one of the Spartan hoplites, but that is otherwise fine. We'll have to regroup and recover a little bit before we attempt to relieve our city again. They don't really have the manpower per se to recover from that situation anyway, so we can take our time if we need to. The new training facilities. I don't happen to be able to recruit cavalry. No. Okay. Both these places can build Spartan hoplites because Spartan hoplite is our medium infantry, so we can build any place we have barracks. I do want to splurge and get a few hoplites. Could avoid doing it, but I'm tempted to do it anyway. We got another implant trade settlement. Probably does make sense to play it down there. So once we get control of the territory I want in Greece, I am probably going to want to get into Africa between Cyrenaica and in Egypt, so we can poke Egypt a little bit. So what does the Egyptian area look like? Troglodyte caverns, probably don't want to be next to that if we can help, or don't want to be on that if we can help. Similar sort of thing. That one's not even removable for us. Okay, so either way, it's Troglodyte cavern is the best, unless we're going to go west. Very scarce water is a little bit more dealable with. Where's the provinces? Okay. You know, I think it's just going to be too much of a risk playing the implant trade settlement right now. It is not a cheap card, and that's you want to be able to hold on to the settlement. Okay, so we want to give this unit time to recover. We didn't, well, we lost a hoplite, which is annoying. And I'm going to splurge, and this is very much a splurge. I don't recommend doing this. I'm going to grab a Spartan hoplite in each place. It's going to take 4 turns there. It's going to take 7 turns there. We'll see how quickly we get that. We're also going to be in the defensive, so we're going to see if these guys come down to attack. Yeah. They don't come. They stay stationary. Again, they probably don't have the capacity to actually sustain themselves in that province, so I'm not too worried about them sitting there. We should recover faster than they do. Nothing to build there. A little bit of food. We're actually money positive right now, so we're definitely not in a rush. Like, just roll a couple turns. Once our units are recovered, I might not try to engage them again. I might let them come, say, siege, attempt to siege down their home territory. But I may move on one of our objectives. We'll see. We're in the progressing tier. If anything, I should probably actually try to earn culture just a little slower, but I think we're fine for the moment. Okay, we got our effectiveness back on the Spartan Hoplites. Got a couple hits we want to recover, but the effectiveness is back. Oh, interesting. So it looks like they've moved into the fort. So this is a gamble. It is a gamble, and I'm going to take. They're in the fort. We can go lay siege to the fort. They're not going to be able to feed themselves from that fort, so that will work. You can see we have 4 objectives. We would like to probably actually take all the objectives. The Athena one will probably be a little bit of a stretch. I suspect if we go for Athena, or go for Athens, frequently when I end up with a war with Persia, or end up with a war with Athens, they'll surrender the Persians because they can do that apparently. And then I end up in a war with Persia. Usually not a problem with Sparta, because the Persians can't really project power very easily into Greece. But it is just annoying. Just a little annoying. Okay, so we're not in the progressing tier anymore, which is fine. Everyone else is starting to get a little bit better culture, is probably what's going on. Also the decadence is starting to stack up. Decadence decays 10% a turn, but you add whatever you get in the last previous turn onto it. So, for example, here we're going to trend to 30.3. Here we're going to trend to, again, 3. Actually, here we're going to trend to about 5.8. So our decadence is going to continue to go up. And we've got them under siege. Okay. They're under siege. The siege will, in theory, last a long time. But from this perspective, they have to sally into us. We've got a sort of defender advantage. They're still little effectiveness lost from before. I think this will go our way, as long as I'm patient. And of course, if we bring up the hoplites that we're building, we'll have even better siege. Minus loyalty, minus health, minus manpower. That's a bit annoying. If we got enough manpower, that's not an issue right now. But I suppose the Salt House will help with that. Oh, and we did get our trade setup did complete. We now control this place with some native raiders. Put a guy in culture so we can get back into the progressing tier. We don't really have any capacity to build right now. What do we need to clear you? Stables. You know what? Yeah, I should probably get that farm. I was about to say I should re-roll until I get the thing, but no, I should get the farm. Build the farm. The farm will take a little bit to build. Once it's built, we'll have positive food. And then we can re-roll for the stable to deal with the raiders. There's our hoplite. There's the first one, hoplite. Okay, it wasn't enough to get back into the progressing tier, but that's fine. Arguably, if we want to be close enough to the progressing tier, we can progress when we want to. Okay, you can move. I'd prefer if you went by land, but if you're going by sea, that's probably fine. We're not at war with Athens yet. And I need a little bit less on money. You know, so one of the modifiers, the negative modifiers we had on air-related wore off, so we're earning a lot more money than I'm. Honestly, I wasn't expecting to have air relate this quickly. So if everything continues going well, we'll be doing well. Sort of bonus points if we get the war done as well. We're in the progressing tier again. Oh, I technically don't need the production here. We go get it to grow. Get another pop, and then we can build stuff. 3 turns out to growing. 14 to grow here. And we have reached the walls. What I may do is once we get all the Spartan hoplites together in 3 turns, we'll storm it if it's still holding. This is a dice roll, so if we get a lucky roll, they'll surrender. They're just not guaranteed to surrender. Until then. Okay. Let's advance the game time again. I think they're still in the fort. Yeah. We're going to have to probably pick a fight with the Boeotian League. They're holding a little too many of our objectives. Our peace treaty with Athens has ended, so they can now declare on us, so we'll have to be a little bit careful while going by sea. That's fine. Growth in 2. Don't need the bolster. Although I, in theory, might bolster if I did the trade settlement somewhere, right? Sadly, that's an island, so we can't bolster the island. And to be fair, I don't have enough money to actually afford the trade settlement right now, so it's a good thing I haven't done the trade settlement. Okay, let's go another turn. Oh, and some units sallied. I think this isn't the garrison, to be fair. It is, they didn't do a very smart move. What I think happened is the AI played the local recruits. Which obviously doesn't, you know, work when you don't control the province. That's the sort of result you expect in that scenario. They don't just magically appear in the garrison. They're proposing an alliance. You know what? I'll accept. Okay, siege is still going. Expect to last a long time. No indication. Well, actually, no. We are affecting some effectiveness damage on them, so it is probably the point where I can just order an assault. And end this affair. We'll grow in 1 turn. That's looking fine. We could probably use a little bit more food. Well, we could use a little bit more of everything, to be fair, to get the proverbial engine started. And we are attacking the fort. Or actually, no, they sallied in this situation, which actually works to our advantage because our guy is actually better at defending than attacking. Enemy cavalry, so we swoop around the side there. Yeah, that's a victory, which means I believe they will surrender. Yep. War's over. So that's arguably a viable Sparta start. It did take 1 save scum to get that state, but that's what it takes to get a hard start going. That's a decent way to get a hard start going. And we do have an ally. That technically got us to war with someone, which is fine. If I need an emergency levy, we can do that. Apparently not so much metal, I could actually sell metal. I think that was what it was. It's true, something you lie down with the dogs, you end up with fleas. Okay. Anyway, you got the food and lunch, we're not going to do. Don't have enough metal, actually, but this would be something we might do if we pile up enough metal. So we gotta end up with these guys, war with these guys. We'll see how this goes. we're not going to get involved. Before I get too carried away with the run, I think this is a good place for a part break for YouTube. And we are going to want slave markets. I'll go through all the buildings here, and then we'll go ahead and put a part break in. Yeah. Well, we'll do that so we're stop having the... We don't need the saves come for it later. It'll get done pretty quickly if we focus on it. We're getting decent income, so that... I mean, decent money income. We might... Yeah, okay. That's probably overkilling the culture. We'll go up 1 just in case. Actually, given the circumstance, we're going to take you off culture, put you on infrastructure. We'll see how that goes. We're on a difficulty, I think, where the AI spawns palaces all the time. So they respawn their palace when they lost their capital. The capital already here has been torn down. We got some money, okay. And then I think the plan will be to try to move in there. We're going to siege race the Boeotians here to take that place. I may make a decision whether we want to declare on them between parts. So if you're watching on YouTube, this is where we're going to go ahead and put the part break in. We did get it going. It was a little bit of a tedium to get it started. I'll try to edit the little bit of black screen out at in the middle between the two reloads for getting the run going. This is a run where I'm going to record the whole thing straight through, and then Editor Me is going to come along later and do editing. So I assume the part's going to be appropriately lengthed. If you're watching on Twitch, I'm going to take a short break to sip a little bit of tea before we move into the next part. So we're going to keep playing. We're going to probably record another 3 parts tonight, assuming everything goes according to plan. And this is a functional start. So unless everything falls apart and we lose, this will be what we're playing again in 4 days. So with that, wish you all the best of luck and a good time. Catch you all in the next part. And with that, bye for now.